I like, what I like, what I like, what I like.
Hey, peace, everybody. I hope everybody's well in these crazy times. Um, I'm Rosa Clemente. So happy to have started my show I did during COVID, Disrupt the Chaos. Now on Black Liberation Media. And yeah, like I'm going back to actually not even my roots, because I never in the world would I have thought I'd become a journalist. But Sophia Bakari, a warrior, a sister, and Sally O'Brien, an Irish warrior and sister, were like, you need to come and do radio at that time in the early 2000s, WBAI, Pacifica Station, still out here. But I was on their show Where We Live, and the show was dedicated to political prisoners. So at that same time, I was also living in Brooklyn right before gentrification and really trained under the Malcolm X Grassroots movement, and really my comradeship with Monifa Bandelli and Dream Hampton and Asha Bandelli and Lumumba. You know, I didn't grow up in a movement household. I didn't know who I was. I didn't even know why I was a citizen as a Boricua. But all that came, and look, thank you everybody already. Look, right now, things are, I think, worse than what maybe people imagined. I go back to those days and I'm like, oh my God, like I was part of the Black Student Union. I was part of the Fuerza Latina, and people would talk about, quote, conspiracies or what's going to happen. And it's like everything that I heard in the 90s was absolutely true at this moment in time. And I was super blessed to be mentored by Dr. Vivian Del Gordon, Collier Clark, Dr. James Turner, Kwame Ture, Betty Shabazz. And it was an incredible time. And I'm so glad we didn't have social media, because if we had social media, I would have never made it through everything, and how mean people can be. So first and foremost, thank you for being here. So before I bring on my guests, I got a couple things real quick. Well, first, let me start with tomorrow. Tomorrow will be, I think, 31 years since police bombed the home of the Black Liberation Organization MOVE. The subsequent fire killed 11, destroying 61 homes and displacing more than 250 people in Philadelphia in 1985. So it's a good documentary. You could go on PBS and Frontline and see what specifically the Black folks on Osage Avenue, also everything, all the houses burned down. So tomorrow is that. And I really encourage all of you to follow Mike Africa Jr. Like, he's someone that I see as, he was born into a movement. He also didn't have his mother and father for decades. When his mom was captured by the state and thrown in a cell, she hid her pregnancy. Then she had him, and one of the guards was kind to her. But can you imagine that? You're like in a cell. Nobody's coming for you. You're a woman. You're pregnant. And only the people around you knew. You had your child, and your child, Mike Africa Jr., was sent to be with his family. And there's also a great documentary called 40 Years a Prisoner, right? So, yeah, I really learned so much from the movement. It's like no movement is worth their salt until the political prisoners are free. So, yeah. That will be tomorrow. I'm sure Mike will be on Democracy Now! There's a lot of events happening around that. Just straight go to Instagram, Mike Africa Jr. and the MOVE family. Second, I'm really excited that I am now going to be the opinion editor and pen an editorial every season, because Chuck D has brought back his magazine, Rap Central Station. So look, it's beautiful. It's so dope, right? And then which I sent to my dear Melina Abdullah as the most ardent fan of Prince. So the title is "We Are Gathered Here to Dismantle This Atrocity Called ICE." And this is it. So it's a quarterly magazine. You can find it at Barnes & Noble. I'm going to be working even more on some other projects within the magazine. And I will just say to this day, I can't believe I can text Chuck D. I'm like, in what world did I ever think? Because again, I didn't grow up in a woman family. Okay. So yeah, my guests are here, so I'm going to bring them on because I'm sure they're going to work till midnight and all night tonight, because that's what they're dedicating to the movement. So let me bring on our guests for sure. Here we go. All right.
Hey, Rosa.
Hey, everybody. Hey, everybody. My guest. Before we go to our guests, I just want to say this. This will be the last time I will make any comment on Bad Bunny. Since February in the Super Bowl, the amount of think pieces, videos, TikToks around Bad Bunny is so revolutionary, right? I've seen people assign a category that he doesn't identify with, calling him a Black Puerto Rican. I've seen people say that Bad Bunny basically took, quote, Puerto Rico out of debt. Like I've seen. And when I saw another article, I kind of was just like, yo, Rosa, be who you are. And who I am is this. Within the Malcolm X Grassroots movement, every year that we did Black August, a celebration of hip hop and the freedom fighters, right? Like, I understand the power of artists. And as I'm not an artist, I've always been so respectful either way, because I learned so much from them. But what we did in Malcolm X Grassroots movement, said artists might not know the politics, we would do political education with them, right? So I think this is what's happening, because this is what's happening in Puerto Rico. Colonized lands means colonized minds. And before Hurricane Maria in 2017, I would have said, I'm not going to see Puerto Rico free in my lifetime. I'm not going to see us be an island nation. I'm not going to see us be part of the international world. I'm not going to see us within the United Nations. But after Donald Trump threw paper towels at our people, everything has been mutual aid and self-determination. I was there with 10 people from a crew of younger Afro-Latinx folks, because I was like, I don't want to put any of my generation in their pessimism. I need to bring younger people that know how to use media. And we were there for 10 days. We broke the news on the governor lying about how many people died. We broke the news about what was going on in Loíza, which is the largest African descendant population in Puerto Rico, right? And what that means is when we're doing this work, we never know what's going to hit. But when it does, it's at a whole nother level. So what I'm saying to folks is, first, please stop putting all that pressure on Bad Bunny. He never said he was a political leader, and that's okay. He never said he was a Black Puerto Rican, and that's okay. And what I thought about is, again, colonized minds. And Richie Perez, may he always rest in freedom, Dr. Turner would always tell me, until you root out that, you're not going to be successful. So for me, once I was in that lineage, is why I can also say I'm more respected in Black spaces than Latinx spaces. And today I definitely got the barrage of people saying I'm not Puerto Rican. I'm too light, I'm trying to be something I'm not, and all these things. And what they don't understand was I didn't get politicized till I went to college. And I had an administrator call me in after I became president of the Albany State University Black Alliance, and he was Puerto Rican, and he said, "You need to pick a side. Are you with us or are you with the Negros?" And I'm like, "Dude, you're the assistant director of cultural affairs, and you're saying to me this," and this was in the 90s. After that, I was like, I'm good. I'm going to go towards the Pan-African, Puerto Rican independentista, and Puerto Rican nationalism side. And that's why I've always resided. And my entire career in higher ed as a student and a professor has always been Pan-African studies, Black studies, Africana studies. And I'm good with that. So anybody out there saying this, first of all, I'm 54 years old. Like, I don't really care what you as a 30-year-old are telling me. I care more about what we're doing. So I got my guest, Dr. Melina Abdullah, on, and Baba Akilli on. And a full disclosure, I am an assistant within Black Lives Matter. So I just want people to understand.
Within Black Lives Matter Grassroots. Let's be clear. Black
Lives Matter Grassroots. And I just want to be clear because I have my opinions that are not within that, So I'm so grateful for both of you to be on. And I know how precious your time is, so I won't keep you too long. And I don't know. Let me start with my sister from another mister, Dr. Melina Abdullah.
Hey, Rosa. Good to be with you.
It's good to be with you, sis.
So what you want me to talk about?
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, just a quick introduction, because I don't like reading those long biographies, but I think a lot of people know who you are. But a quick introduction, and the first question I would have is your trajectory in Black Lives Matter Grassroots and also Black Lives Matter LA.
Sure. Well, because you were here, that I'm one of the original members of Black Lives Matter, the entire Black Lives Matter movement. Black Lives Matter was founded right here in Los Angeles after Trayvon Martin's killer was acquitted, when George Zimmerman was acquitted. We were on the ground, and we erupted in what I call intuitive organizing, and did a lot of work to build ourselves. We said we're building a movement, not a moment. And that was the birth of Black Lives Matter, which, grew to about 40 chapters around the country. By 2020, we were about 40 chapters around the country, and helped to write. I wrote many of the guiding principles and helped to shape Black Lives Matter. And then in 2020, it was the first time any real substantial money poured in. I was always part of the building of chapters and on the ground work, never a part of kind of the infrastructure or money. Baba Akilli and I were, we funded the movement rather than being funded by it, right? And when I say funded, I mean that we're the ones who bought the $1 burritos at the meetings, right? And so that's a lot of the work that we did. And then there was some challenges leading up to 2020, and we had visioned what the chapters might be if the challenges that we were presenting weren't addressed. And so we had built Black Lives Matter Grassroots really as a way for the chapters to have our own structures. And 2020 happened, and we decided it was important to continue to build. And for some time, there was Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation, which was led by Patrice Cullors, Black Lives Matter Grassroots, which was the chapters on the ground, which I was helping to coordinate. And then there was also a PAC that Patrice had decided to initiate. And finally, Patrice decided to step back, and the longer version of the story. But in the end, it was supposed to be that the resources that poured in 2020 more than $100 million is what they report, was supposed to transfer over to Black Lives Matter Grassroots after some questions about who might take over the Global Network Foundation didn't pan out. You mentioned Monifa, and there was also Makani, that were talking about leading the Global Network Foundation while Grassroots continued to do the work on the ground. A lot of stuff happened, promises unkept, not by Makani and Monifa, but by those who Patrice had entrusted with that structure. And then those resources were supposed to be transferred over to Grassroots. And
Yes.
finally, in 2022, they said no, that they were taking all the money. And Baba Akilli and a lot of us decided, even without money, we're going to continue to move things on the ground. And so that's what Black Lives Matter Grassroots is. It's what you think of when you think of Black Lives Matter. It's the movement on the ground. We're now 51 chapters all around the world with what, 5 more coming on this year?
Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah, and just so let me be clear from my perspective, my personal perspective as Rosa Clemente. Me and Melina met at a conference out somewhere in California, and it was me, her, and I think Boots Riley was on a panel, and I think it might have been me, you, Shauna Redmond, Jasiri X. But anyway, we found each other, right? And then as I was still at Amherst finishing my classes for my PhD, Melina hit me up and was like, would you be interested in coming out here for a year to teach? And I was like, absolutely, because it was coinciding with the time that I started. A lot of my friends actually moved to LA, right? So I come over. It was the best academic experience teaching students that I ever had. But like, I was witnessing everything in real time, right? Like, I'm witnessing, I mean, so in LA, it's called St. Elmo Village, right? I also didn't realize the incredible work of African Americans in LA, i.e., all the cultural spaces, right? So, but I was in LA. I wanted to be there. My daughter, my husband, maybe not too much, because they, thought and felt that Mexicans were anti-Black, and I had to have the conversation like, well, not all Mexicans. And then we arrived at Melina's house. We literally lived with her and the family. Melina's like, you're coming to a meeting. I'm like, oh, for sure, I'm coming to the meeting. We're in the meeting, things are happening, and I'm like, oh shit, I've been here like a week, and I'm about to be part of a protest. And all I remember was that morning, I was like, we're about to shut it down, and I'm gonna like record everything. And I told my husband Justice, babe, don't worry, I'm not going to get arrested. And I ended up getting arrested. But the reason I ended up getting arrested is because it was the first kind of highway shut down. I had already spent time with Melina, and I'm like, you're a warrior, and all the other people. And I'm a journalist, but I'm not that type of journalist. And I was like, oh, hell no. They pulled guns, and I ended up getting arrested with other BLM people. Melina did everything. We go and we lived there for a year. But one of the things I was always telling you, Melina, was like, I refuse you as Black women to be erased. So I'm going to always rep that. That's my personal history and what I know. So when we begin to see not a rift, but after, like you said, in 2020, what made you say, hold up a minute, let me create Black Lives Matter Grassroots? Because I think we're going to have that.
So there was a whole kind of administrative function that I was never a part of. So there was a lot of conversation among chapters from pretty early on, maybe as early as 2016. So we're founded in 2013. By 2016, there was some administrative work that Patrice was doing, and there was internal conversation. And there was conversation, for instance, in 2013, we weren't thinking about being a 501c3 or a nonprofit. In fact, we thought we were a movement, and that's it, right? Like, nobody got paid. Like I said, we paid. We dug in our pockets. We hijacked the copy machines at our jobs, right? We literally passed hats to pay for your legal defense, right? Because there were several folks arrested and we had to have lawyers, right? That's how stuff happened. We didn't have infrastructure like that. And I thought that was like the brilliance of Black Lives Matter, because as people started to threaten us with lawsuits and all kinds of things, there was no legal structure for them to sue. And so there was conversation about it, and a lot of us at the chapter level were not comfortable with some of the directions that those who were more concerned with infrastructure wanted to take it in. But by 20, I would say it was 29, yeah, it was 2019, there was a little bit of money. And when I say a little bit, all we know about is like a couple $100,000.
Right.
And Patrice had hired an executive director who we did not like. She was like the former assistant to the Princess of Denmark or something. And she also used to work for Teach for America, which were not politically aligned with who we were as a organization. And so a lot of us, we had been meeting on every Sunday. We had been having these long meetings among chapters, and we decided, look, we have to have something, because remember, there wasn't a whole lot of money, but there also wasn't a big platform before 2020. We had a couple 100,000 followers, and if necessary, we knew we could rebuild that again. So that's kind of what this was. It was like, if Patrice doesn't get rid of this person who was serving as director, the power really rested on the ground, and we'll just be BLM Grassroots, and that's how we'll move. And so that's what that was about. But then, of course, 2020 happened, and we felt like we had to pour into, I always describe it as a moment when the world cracked wide open, and we had to run through and get as much justice as we possibly could. And so we stopped really looking at infrastructure and any questions about infrastructure, and just how do we build power in this moment. And so that's what happened in 2019 and 2020.
Yeah, and I mean, I've told you, like, once you like made that shift and we talked about it, I was like, go ahead, girl, let's go. Because people say leaders are born. What I learned in Africana studies is there's potential for all of us to be leaders. And once it's given to us, we have to crack down on it in this sense. Black Lives Matter Grassroots is the only organization in the United States of America that has not just the quote chapters, but a process to engage in what leadership looks like for working class people, unapologetically Black. So, Baba Akilli, to bring you into this as a labor organizer, a union organizer, and let me just say, like, I know you were comrades with Professor John Gracie, right? And Bill Strickland and Dr. Turner and Sophia Vicari and all of that. But because you've done so much incredible work within labor rights, unions, and I know that post me leaving, you've been on the ground. And one thing that you said a couple weeks ago when we were talking was, this is a whole new structure, especially about Black women kind of running it.
Well, I think thank you, Rosa, for asking me to join you. And I've spent most of the day today with Melina. We were at the police commission where Melina was almost arrested for speaking 30 seconds
Of course.
over the time limit, and one time she actually was arrested for that. But for me, and I've
30 seconds. 30 seconds. That was crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. And I say this all the time. This is the best work I've done in 55 years. And I'm proud of the work that I've done over the past 55 years, in co-founding a union for domestic workers and fighting, at the anti-part, you name it. So I've done a lot of that over the past few years. But this is the best work I've done for a couple of reasons. One, that is Black women founded, led, and directed. And I think Black women bring a different style of leadership, a leadership that doesn't rest on how big something is or how far, how much chest pounding you can do, that kind of stuff. They bring a different kind of leadership style. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is the work that we have been doing with impacted families. And I think the two are connected in many ways, because the women, I think, at least what I've observed, have been willing to really feel and accept and empathize with impacted families, and creating a space, comfort, and support for impacted families, I think, has been almost the best part of the work that we're doing. So the combination of this being founded, led, and directed by Black women, and the work that we are doing with impacted families, for me, has been the most rewarding and the most stimulating and certainly the most challenging, because I've had to grow and develop and learn, and know when to speak and when not to speak. So I'm enjoying the work that I'm doing now with Black Lives Matters and Grassroots. I'm enjoying working with Melina, who is her vision, leadership, and commitment has gotten us to where we are. Without it, it would just be BLM something. So I think the combination of the three, the vision is important, because without the vision, you don't really know where you're going. But vision with leadership, then you have you have movement, vision, leadership, and commitment. The three, that combination, I think, has allowed us to grow, develop, and advance.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's why me and Melina
connect.
We're sisters in that way, because we're going to ride and we're going to listen to you. But once you fuck us over, we out. We're going to remember that. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's important, because
I had to come off mute and laugh at that one. I learned. I follow you on that. Yeah.
No,
you be teaching me something.
You curse way more than me. Every time my mom's like, Rosie, why you gotta say that word? I'm like, aquí está Melina. She's saying all the words.
Wait, are you blaming me? You telling on me to your mom?
No, I'm not blaming you. I'm showing her the actual footage when you curse, and then you're like, my mom did not like that. My parents are real different Puerto Rican parents. Once we were 10, they were like, all the curse words, let them out, But Bob, I'm also thinking my mom and dad are 84, bless them. They're in amazing shape. When I became aware of my history and me as a person of African descent, I was really angry with them. I was like, why didn't you tell me why as Boricuas we're American citizens, or why didn't you do ABDE? And my mom one day said, we were living in New York, even though we saw everything that's going on in the South. So what? Your generation is literally living at a time where the Voting Rights Act and all the acts were implemented by the Civil Rights Movement and part of the Black Power movement. And at this moment, because you've been on the road with Melina for the last week, you're going and seeing your people and you yourself, the complete dismantling of the Voting Rights Act. And I said to my daughter, I said, Alicia, Abuela and abuelo, i.e. people, that's grandma and grandpa, witnessed this as well. But as Puerto Ricans, as my dad migrated, when he came over to New York, he was called the N-word a lot. My dad is phenotypically Black. And I look back at the pictures, and one day I said, Daddy. And he's like, well, Josie, in Puerto Rico, we don't talk about anything about except being Puerto Rican and kind of going back to colonized lands and colonized minds. But you're witnessing it because you're growing up in it. You've been fighting for it. And now this complete dismantling, I think, has so many people in our community so frightened, as they should be. But how do you use your narrative for your peers, but younger people, like, we got to just keep fighting. We got to find a way to fit in.
Well, I'm 77 and I was born in 1948. So I was introduced to the civil rights movement, but became active in the Black Power and Black nationalist movement. But growing up in the segregated South, where the law, the custom, and the practice reinforce your second-class status, what I see, feel, and understand is happening now is exactly the same way I felt and understand when I was 10, 12, and 13 years old during the height of Jim Crow. The biggest difference, well, not the biggest difference, but one of the main differences is the Black assertiveness of the day versus then. And I saw it in Montgomery when we were there last week. I see it now around the country. The assertiveness, we ain't going back. We're not going to do that again. That is fundamentally different from the era that I grew up in, where we were assertive, and certainly we challenged Jim Crow and segregation, but it was done in a certain context. It was done in a certain kind of way that made it much more acceptable. And quite frankly, it was dangerous. So it's not like, it wasn't tactically a good thing to do. But now people are assertive. We're not going to take this. And that's the message that I see being sent, that we're not going to take this. White people, certainly the whites that I saw and have seen, they don't care about being called racist. They don't care about being called bigots and the rest. Matter of fact, some of them wear it proudly. I think that our assertiveness, our resistance in every form that we can think of is coming to the fore, and that we believe that we are winning and that we are right. And that for me is a rewarding aspect, because I saw what it was like in 1955, 1965, and 1975. And so I know where that got us. I see what's happening now in 2025 and 2026. And I'm inspired, hopeful, and committed to being a part of not going back.
And part of what I think you're talking about is from 55 to probably the mid 70s. Well, 55 to probably the Black Panther Party, but specifically Fred Hampton and Mark Clark at the Black Panther Party of Illinois, as well as the Young Lords Party. And people don't know who the Young Ones are. A lot of people always say, oh, they're the Puerto Rican Black Panthers. It's not that. I mean, I don't mind that. I kind of mind when people refuse to say that Fred Hampton, Chacha Jimenez, the Young Lords Party, the Puerto Rican Social Party, the American Indian movement were also anti-imperialists. And I still think in this movement at this time, that might be something we need to talk about more, because I feel like this administration is also isolating us from the rest of the world. So we need to be like, oh, we ain't down with that shit. And we're trying to stop it. And we know he's crazy. And we know they are fanatics and they want us not to exist. That being respectable. And when I saw it really go in was in Ferguson. And when I was like, oh, these are just young people from the streets, they've been used in charter schools and all of that. And they're telling some of the mainstream flyover activists, as I call it, like, yo, you ain't coming up here and hijacking this. Is that something that makes a difference of generations?
It does, and I think one of the things I'm learning on a constant basis, and that's is when to talk and when not to. My time has come. Not gone, but my time has come. We made our mistakes. We got us this far. We contributed. We did all we knew to. Black Lives Matter's grassroots has picked that, as we say, the rock of liberation up and is moving it down the road. And it is the time. It is your time. I can offer you our observations, my understanding, and our mistakes, but you got to build it from here on out. And I think that's what's happening. That's what I mean about assertiveness. That's what I mean about the resistance level, that people aren't going to take this no more in the same kind of way. They ain't going to just roll over and go, well, that's just how it is. And once again, I don't want to leave the impression that my generation just took it, or people in the 50s and 60s just took it. There was resistance, there was assertiveness. But what I see happening now, in terms of like this weekend, this All Roads Lead South, mobilizing people from across the country to confront, challenge, and disrupt. And I think that's for me is the hopefulness of it. Part of what I also see is visionaries like Melina and people who have learned the lessons. I mean, Melina identifies as a Panther cub, and she can talk about that. But you all have the benefit of being able to see what we did and didn't do, and the mistakes that we made, or the short-sighted decisions that we may have made. You don't have to make that. You may make your own mistakes, but you don't have to make those, because hopefully there are some of us around who are saying, well, you may not want to do that because here's what happened when we tried it. And I think so. For me, I'm tremendously hopeful. The young people I see, work with, and I teach a class, and we had a good class today about both immigration and Black workers and how what is happening. And so part of what I see is that you have instant access to information. You have immediate capacity to communicate with each other, and you can come together and mobilize faster and deeper than previous generations have. And I think that's a useful tool that we need to use.
So, Melina,
And I want to just, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'll just clarify. I identify as a Panther Cub generation.
Yeah,
My parents were around. I'm from Oakland, born in 1972. I'm around, in and around the Panthers, but my mother, was part of the survival programs, like volunteered, but they were not Panthers. So I want to be clear on that. They were not Panthers. They were people who were in and around the Panthers, but not Panthers themselves.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know this part, but I think I get asked a lot about the differences, right? And I would say I don't find them as differences. I find them as Black Lives Matter, Grassroots is ethical and moral, and Black Lives Matter Global Foundation is a cancer that needs to be gone. And I'm just going to be real on fam. Again, me, Rosa Clemente, the Black Puerto Rican from the Bronx, I would say this. My experience from not Black Lives Matter Grassroots, but other people, I definitely got played. I got played. Y'all can find out who you think I got played from, because I've been talking about it. Because one day, just as my husband was like, babe, you just like believe in everybody and you'll discern. And I said, oh shit, you're right. I don't. I'm the type of person like, oh, this is what you're about. Let's go. We're going to be friends. And then I'm like, why did I think this would be different? And I'm only sharing this because it's also like, we have to be honest, because I think right now, the generation that your daughters are in, me as Alicia, well, maybe not your daughters, Melina, because Alicia's in a different kind of headspace, but around this, like, there's a lot of mistrust. And there's a lot of people that don't know the actual historical facts. So when was that moment where you're like, okay, this is going to happen. We have to build Black Lives Matter grassroots. We have to have something brick and mortar where we can meet on our own, and we have to include the families.
Melina?
Can you hear me okay? I put in AirPods. Can you hear me?
Yeah, do you want me to repeat that?
Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
No, I can hear you. I just sometimes folks can't hear me when I have these in.
No, we can hear you. You're good.
So we did get played. We got played. We got played because we believed that everybody was in the movement for the movement. We got played because, we built Black Lives Matter believing that it was what we owed to our people and what we owed to our ancestors, what we owed to our children. And we moved in purely. And I think that we assumed everybody was moving purely because in the beginning, Rosa, there was nothing for people to win off of it, right? There was no money. There was no nothing. It was we were pouring in and we were, you took arrests and we took beatings and we took, we all took arrests and beatings and were receiving. And so I think that a lot of us were moving from that space. And there were people who came in who capitalized on that. And I think what trust should not be transferable. So I need to do a better job. One of the lessons I'm learning is I need to do a better job of trusting spirit that speaks to me before I trust people around me who say things and give credibility to others. Here's one thing that I've never been shy about doing though is when people violate me and violate the movement and violate the people, and I'm straight up, Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation is a bunch of thieves. It's a bunch of thieves who stole hundreds of millions of dollars that poured in out of the blood, the spilled blood of Black people, and off of the sweat and tears of organizers. They stole it and they have names. And the thieves' names are Shalomia Bowers, Cecily Gay, and Dejanay Parker. They are living high on the hog right now on that money. If you go to their social media pages, Cecily had a glow up like you wouldn't believe.
I saw
Body
it.
sculpting and new teeth and wears couture and travels with a glam squad, flies private jets. Shalomia Bowers vacations in Israel. I'm not kidding. This is what they've had. Dejanay Parker bought herself a college degree. They bought themselves like doctorates. This is what they do. And they run around, and I didn't even know they made handbags that cost $10,000, but handbags that cost tens of thousands of dollars while we're still get it this morning. Baba Akilli is pointing out this morning, just this morning, got surrounded by LAPD and threatened with arrest and physically pushed out of the room. This is what they've done. And so I believe in naming names. I believe in community shunning. I believe in accountability. I believe there should be no space that they walk where they are welcome or comfortable. And the lesson that I'm learning is to make sure that when Shalomia entered the space, who's the mastermind behind it, right? He brought Cecily Gay and Dejanay Parker in. He made me uncomfortable and he felt like a slime ball, but I trusted somebody else's assessment of him. even though
Right.
spirit told me he was a slime ball. And I'm learning to trust spirit that whispers to me before I trust anybody else.
Absolutely. That's the whole point. You know, like I remember watching the Black Panther documentary, the one Stanley Nelson did. And one of the elders was like, the best thing about the Black Panther Party was our youth and exuberance. The worst thing was our youth and exuberance. But again, around this discerning, because look, I mean, I'm not, you know, girl, you know, I'm like, I don't want to believe in a God. I don't know what happens, you know, self-care. I don't care about that. Also, I also know that, like me and you have been talking about like self-care. Like Harriet Tubman wasn't like, let me take a break.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And we had that
Right.
conversation when we were together one time. And also for me, I think because I came up through scholar activism, that again, my home has always been with Black folks in that way. I always remember like Dr. Turner. Dr. Turner was very dignified. Like if he adamantly opposed anything, and I was like, F this and do, and he's like, okay, so what's the strategy for the long term? And I feel like you did that. I feel like something was like, oh, I need to do this right now because I don't know everything, but something's about to happen. I.e., as because I know I don't want to keep y'all too much longer, right? Like you were like, let's go. And then you were very methodical. But I was like, I want people to be like super clear, fam. Okay. Melina and her family her children been under attack for like almost a decade. The LAPD has swatted her family, times that they had to just be like, I'm out. And it's the same within our elders that had to have that experience to be like, we got to go underground. The difference is the social media and the access that people have to information, and they want to do harm on you. And one of the things, I was listening to a podcast where somebody was like, well, there's a reason I don't bring my daughter who's 8 years old into this, because I don't want her to know what's going on. And I'm like, well, Melina didn't raise her babies. I didn't raise my daughter that way, i.e. meaning like, if white supremacy is going to kill a 7-year-old young woman, Ayanna Davis, a young girl in Detroit, we as mothers would be doing we would not be preparing them. So your children have seen this, and it's scary, and it has continued because you're in the tradition of one of the best organizers and Black political leaders. And I just don't want people to think it's easy, because I think your exuberance and your love, people are like, I can do that. I'm like, well, there's a lot that comes with that. It's not always, quote, the award or the dinner. It's like, I'm going home and these people might come after me, and I'm not afraid.
Right. Right. And I wouldn't choose any other life. But Baba Akilli always says, what do you say, Baba Akilli? That we make the choice, right?
Yeah,
we make the choice.
Yeah.
It's for me, it was never a sacrifice. It was a choice. My family may have sacrificed my time and resources because I made the choice, but I made a clear-cut choice to do this. And I've been making that choice for a long time, but I have to see it as a choice, because if I see it some other kind of way, I could get resentful, I could get downhearted, I could get dispirited, and some people burn out. But I made a choice.
Yeah.
I made a choice, and I tried to live up to 3 basic beliefs. People make a difference if you go to them. It's not enough they have a good idea that you keep in this room. That the essence of democracy is inclusion and participation. You can't claim to have a democratic society if you purposely, deliberately, and methodically exclude people. And we live in the richest country in the world. We can't have a just, fair, and equitable society. And so my choice then was to try to live up to those beliefs.
So, Baba, as we wrap up with you and Melina, can you talk about? Oh no, go ahead, sis. I just before you go, Baba, I want to talk to you about your next journey around Cuba, because I think that, well, I don't think, let's just say like in New York City alone, I think there's an understanding, right? Like what Rubio has been prepping Trump for, and Rubio's, sorry if y'all don't like this, I'm sorry, wet dream to basically kill the revolution. You know, but Melina, go ahead, because I think you wanted to add to that. Hey, you still there, sis?
Hello?
No, we can hear you, Baba. Melina, you still there? Okay, we might have lost Melina, but Baba, around Cuba and the internationalism, because again, being brought up like in your circle of incredible men and women and elders, I unfortunately have never visited Cuba, but so many people in, we hear you, Melina, so many people in the Malcolm X Grassroots movement have. But Melina, we were like just kind of asking about the internationalism that's happening in the chapters that also exist, as I pull up the screen of all the chapters if people want to get down. But Baba, around Cuba and everything that's happening, like I said, I'm not a person, I hate Miami. I was kind of run out of there one time I spoke, and I was like, I'm never going to go there again. And then like right now is going on in Cuba, and the internationalism that this moment needs because of this crazy administration. Because I think like people will be like, everything's happening here in the US, and it's like, wait, what are the policies where these monsters are trying to use Puerto Rico as a military outpost, trying to invade Cuba? There's a great article that says in order to get to Maduro in Venezuela, the U.S. Navy has to come through Puerto Rico. And for people that don't understand, Puerto Rico is the Southern Command of the military. Okay, we're a colony since 1898. And also the governor is literally one of the founders of Latinos for Trump. All right, there's always corruption, it's always crazy. Puerto Rico's on a whole new level in good ways of independencia. But because you have been part of the internationalism, if you could tell our audience a little bit what's going on in Puerto Rico, in Cuba, and why you're going to be on the next flotilla for that.
Well, first of all, I'm invited by the Institute of the Black World 21st Century, Ron Daniels, and I have been associated with IBW since the early 90s, since
my dissertation, Baba. You're in my dissertation.
And part of what the Institute of the Black World has done for many years, certainly with Haiti, there was a focus with Haiti, and the Haitian Support Project is international solidarity. And Cuba, and I've been fortunate enough to go to Cuba at least 3 times now. And every time I go, I the first thing that comes, what would have happened if we'd have just left them alone and allowed them to develop on their own? They have been starved by this country for over 60 years. And it's criminal. And so what the Institute of the Black World 21st Century wants to do is reestablish that connection and that support and that solidarity, but also, make sure that people see, understand, and accept that you can't. This country has already been invaded, but we cannot go around the world invading and overturning countries that we disagree with, like we did with Maduro and other people. And so what the Institute of the Black World is saying is that Black people are going to stand in solidarity with Cubans, and that we are going to visit with them, we're going to hear from them, and we're going to take that message back first to our own community, and then secondly, be out front in opposing this regime's effort at undermining and destroying the Cuban. Well, they're doing it now, the Cuban people, but they want to do it to the Cuban leadership. And so the Institute of the Black World is going to be a part of fighting against that now, so that the effort is to try to prevent an intervention, to try to prevent the sending in the military.
Yeah, and I mean, again, thank you, because at the end of the day, not only did Cuba accept Nnamdi Abu-Zoum, but also Sada Shakur, and she was rest in freedom, and William Morales from the FLN, from, not the FLN, Los Macheteros, and Los Macheteros were an underground movement, basically robbing banks and distributed to the people, and that's Puerto Rican history. And I always say, Melina, as we wrap up, like, my kinship also as a Puerto Rican, understanding all the politics, is really wrapped up not only through hip hop culture as African Americans, Puerto Ricans, and Jamaicans creating this in the Bronx, but I've always been bound up with whole African American and Puerto Rican resistance movements, because we are citizens of this country, but really not. And right now, like, all I ever tell people is like, listen, Puerto Ricans in Puerto Rico are American citizens. It was imposed on us, but they can't vote for the president, right? So it's like a weird thing. But around decolonization, so Melina, it's like you were like, I'm bringing this together. We're going to bring the best people. What do you want people to know about Black Lives, BLM Grassroots? And I'm going to pull up the map, because there's chapters, but not just chapters, in the United States.
Yeah, Black Lives Matter Grassroots is about Black liberation. BLM could easily stand for a Black liberation movement, right?
Ah,
We
Right,
are
right.
um an unapologetically revolutionary Pan-Africanist womanist organization. And
Yes.
we're building as much power as we can. We're not seeking to reform systems that are built on slavery and colonization. We're seeking to upend them and build our own systems of liberation. And that means Black people everywhere we are in the world, including the United States, but not only the United States, our fate is bound up together. And so I'm grateful that we have one international chapter and we're looking to build more. We have one chapter in Sweden. Baba Akilli got to go visit our Swedish chapter, which is actually a really powerful chapter. It's the largest Black led organization in that country, Black Lives Matter Grassroots Sweden. But we're
I,
also
that's why,
building.
sis, that's
Huh?
why I'm telling you. No, what I'm saying is, like, when you come into Puerto Rico, let's go. That's what I'm saying. Like, I know you've been there before, right? But I'm saying, like, we gotta take everybody, as many people as we can, because again, just going back to the beginning, around like, once you feel something can happen, and that's what's bubbling under Puerto Rico. Yes, the Bad Bunny, the cryptocurrency, but honestly, after Maria, the younger generation that actually has been adamant and saying Black Lives Matter. That's why I've been like, girl, let's go. We need
Look,
two.
I feel like I cheated on you because I've been to Puerto Rico one
Yeah,
time
yeah,
because
no,
they invited me for a conference
I know
and
you were not a
yeah,
colonizer for sure. I knew
right.
that.
I know. No, but I always said when I go to Puerto Rico it was going to be with you.
Yeah,
And
we're going. I got you.
so yes, we can go and build movement in Puerto Rico. I want to do that. There's places all around the world that are inspired by Black Lives Matter, but we also want to be a part of the growing movements that are coming, and we're growing, and we need to make sure that we do so in a worldwide. We call Baba Keeley our worldwide field
Coordinator.
coordinator.
I know. I was like, I love that. And how many chapters are we at?
51
Wow.
right now, and then 5 more coming on. So God willing, we'll be at 56 in
Wow.
July. Yeah.
So as we wrap up, so Baba, what would be some of your wisdom, and also
And
everybody,
and Rosa, I'm gonna hop off because we got a call with
no, no, go ahead.
Grand Rapids right now.
No, no, go do it. I got
Okay,
you.
I love you so much. Thank you
We
for
love you.
having
Thank
me
you
on.
for all the
Okay.
information, for
All right.
sure. So Baba, as we wrap
Yeah.
up, like, I just been super grateful to be in space with you, and like, doing these onboardings just makes me feel like I'm contributing in some way to the movement. What's like a couple things you want younger people to know about what it is, not only movement, but not a sacrifice, but kind of have you and who you are within Black liberation when things don't look great or things are awful? What are a couple things you want younger people to know?
Yeah, well, yeah, and I say all the time, a little enthusiasm goes a long way. Sometimes we just have to be enthusiastic. But secondly, for me, it has been the people. Uh, because I get asked this question all the time, why do I keep doing this, and it's been, one, the successes that we've had, two, the people I've been involved with over the years, and three, the growth and the personal growth and development that I've had. The combination have allowed me to continue to do what I'm doing. But it's being in community with people that reminds me of the meaning, value, and impact of the work that we're doing, and that we are winning, and that we have to see it and say it, because if you don't, the perception and the observation is this regime is turning everything on its head, and there's nothing we can do to set it right. No, we come from a long line of people who have resisted and won, and so we are winning. And of course, when you fight, you win.
Yeah, and I'm so grateful. Like I'm
So that's
always,
the big thing. Keep fighting.
Yeah, I'm always grateful. So Bam,
and I think that lesson, the continual
Yeah.
resistance, the continued willingness to stand up, the continuing willingness to say no, we will not go back, I think will sustain us and also allow us to grow. I mean, if you look at our history from 1619 to today, we have always struggled in one form or another. We have always resisted in one form or another. There's been highs and lows, ups and downs, but we've always resisted. And that resistance has resulted in our advancement. We may not be where we want to be, but we're much further than we were. And so
No,
I just want to encourage us to continue to fight, because like I said, when we fight, we win.
we win. And that's what I'm, telling people. I'm telling you, a younger generation, I think, like, just as we wrap up, the economic strain right now in this country is like, I've heard about it before, but once it hits you, like, I can't even imagine how much gas is in LA, because in Albany, New York, it's almost $5. And it's like, what is it going to take for people just to shut it down? And people will often say, like, capitalism. But really, people come out when they have almost no hope. And we're the people that need to be there. Like, wait a minute, we might win and we're going to fight. So what would be like a parting message to folks that are like, okay, this is happening, but there's something I could do about it? And that's on you, Baba. Maybe. Hey, Baba. Okay, he might be on mute. Hey, Baba. Yeah, he can hear me. It's on mute. Let me try to flag him real quick. Hey, Baba. All right. Well, yeah. Okay. So peace, everybody. Thank you so much for being part of Disrupt the Chaos. Yeah, I'll be back tomorrow with Disrupt the Chaos. Hey, Baba, can you still hear us? Okay. Okay. Peace, everybody. Thank you. Second week of Disrupt the Chaos, 8 till about 9:15, depending on people's time. I'll be on tomorrow, and the addition of Disrupt the Chaos is going to be a movie called Mataron Pedro, which is They Killed Pedro, about Pedro Albizu Campos. I'm so honored to be part and be an executive producer of that. And when I have the people that made it happen, So thank you, everybody. Thank you for all your comments and things. And I'll see everybody. And please subscribe to Black Liberation Media on YouTube. Okay. And I will be putting this up in clips on my Instagram page. All right. So everybody have a good night. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you. Peace.
And what did you sacrifice?
Calm, kindness, kinship, love. I've given up all chance at inner peace. I made my mind a sunless space. I share my dreams with ghosts. I wake up every day to an equation I wrote 15 years ago for which there's only one conclusion. I'm damned for what I do. My anger, my ego, my unwillingness to yield, my eagerness to fight, have set me on a path from which there's no escape. I yearn to be a savior against injustice without contemplating the cost, and by the time I look down, there's no longer any ground beneath my feet. What is my sacrifice? I'm condemned to use the tools of my enemy to defeat them. I burn my decency for someone else's future. I burn my life to make a sunrise that I know I'll never see. Now, the ego that started this fight will never have a mirror or an audience or the light of gratitude. So what do I sacrifice? Everything, 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 everything.
I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like.